The house felt unusually quiet that evening, the sort of silence that presses against your chest rather than simply filling the room. I'd spent most of the day drifting between tasks, pretending to keep myself busy, but the truth was simpler and sadder. I felt alone in a way I hadn't expected. There was this restlessness in me, something warm and heavy that refused to settle. I tried a film, scrolling through my phone, even cooking something I didn't really want. Nothing worked. The house still felt too big, too empty. I wanted presence. Someone breathing in the same space. Someone whose warmth reached further than a blanket or a cup of tea. It wasn't hunger. It wasn't boredom. It was the need for closeness, the kind you can't explain out loud without sounding desperate. I just wanted another human near me. Someone who'd understand the quiet ache sitting behind my ribs. Eventually I pushed myself off the sofa and stepped onto the porch, hoping the cool American evening air would settle the fire inside me. The sun had already dipped past the horizon, leaving the sky purple and gold, and the streetlights had just flickered to life. My neighborhood was a peaceful place. Small lawns, wooden fences, the occasional dog barking in the distance. I stood at the edge of my porch, breathing in slowly. Sometimes a change in air fixes things. Sometimes it doesn't. That night, it didn't. I walked down the front steps and wandered to the pavement, hands in my pockets, trying to think about anything but the emptiness I didn't want to admit. And that's when I saw him. He stood a short distance down the street, near the old maple tree by the sidewalk. He wasn't doing anything in particular, just standing there in a quiet, slightly hunched way, like someone who didn't quite know what to do with himself. The dim streetlight behind him cast a soft glow around his shoulders, making him look strangely gentle, almost out of place in the stillness. I recognized him instantly, the new neighbor. He'd moved in a few weeks earlier with an older relative, though I'd never seen him with any friends. He kept mostly to himself, walked slowly, talked even slower. There was a softness to him, something unpolished but sincere. He looked young but not too young, definitely an adult, early 20s. He carried himself like someone unfamiliar with the world but curious about it. Socially different, maybe, quiet, innocent, the type of boy who didn't speak unless spoken to, and even then, he hesitated first. He was facing away from me, and I caught myself watching the way he stood. Back slightly rounded, shoulders relaxed, posture strangely comforting. There was something almost tender about the way he held himself, as if he were soft on the inside and didn't know how to hide it. For a moment, I wondered what he was thinking. Did he feel alone too? Did he step outside for the same reason I had, to escape a silence that followed him like a shadow? I walked towards him, the gravel under my shoes crunching lightly. He didn't notice me until I was only a few steps away. When he finally turned, there was a small delay in his expression, like he needed an extra second to understand that someone was approaching him. "Hey," I said softly, offering a small smile. "You all right?" His eyes widened a little, then relaxed. He nodded once, slow and uncertain, as if he was testing whether nodding was the correct response. I laughed lightly, not mocking, just charmed by his innocence. "I've seen you around. You live in the house down the street, don't you?" Another tiny nod. "What are you doing out here alone?" I asked. He shrugged, then looked away, staring at the pavement like it held answers. His voice finally came out, quiet, fragile, almost unsure of itself. "I didn't want to stay inside." I felt that sentence more deeply than he could have known. "Yeah, me neither," I murmured. He glanced back up, studying me in a way that wasn't rude, just curious, like he was trying to understand something about my presence. His expression was open, honest, without the usual social filters most people automatically use. I liked it more than I should have. "You mind if I stand here?" I asked, not wanting to scare him off. He hesitated, then shook his head. "No, it's okay." So I stood beside him, keeping a respectful distance. We looked at the quiet street together, both pretending we weren't aware of each other's closeness. After a while, I spoke again. "You don't talk much, do you?" He blinked, as if surprised by the observation. "I don't know what to say most of the time." "That's fine," I said gently. You don't have to. There was something sweet about the way he reacted, like gratitude mixed with relief, as if being understood was new to him. What's your name? I asked softly. He answered in a small whisper. Jonas. Jonas. The name fit him perfectly. Soft around the edges, warm if spoken right. I'm glad you're outside tonight, I said quietly. He looked confused. Why? Because I didn't want to be out here alone. The sentence had a double meaning, and though he didn't fully understand it, something in him softened. He shifted his feet, glancing away shyly. A small, innocent gesture, but it stirred something in me that had been restless all day. I hesitated, choosing my words carefully, keeping everything safe. You seem like someone who doesn't get close to people often. He shook his head. I don't know how to. His honesty hit me unexpectedly hard. This wasn't the usual shyness people pretended to have. This was real. I can show you, I said gently, careful, soft, non-threatening. Not anything complicated. Just how to be around someone. He looked at me again, eyes big and uncertain. Why would you want to do that? Because you seem like someone who deserves company, I said. And because, I added quietly, I could use some company too. He didn't speak, but he didn't step away either. His silence wasn't rejection, it was thought, processing. He took a small breath, as if steadying himself. You're different from other people, he whispered. How so? You look at me like I'm not strange. That sentence alone could have broken something inside me. I swallowed, trying not to let the emotion show. You're not strange, I said. You're just untouched by all the noise the rest of us have gotten used to. He tilted his head slightly, as if trying to decode my meaning. Then, for the first time since I'd met him, he gave me a tiny, shy smile. Barely there, but enough to warm something deep inside me. Do you want to sit? He asked softly, pointing to the small stone edge of the pavement. Yeah, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'd like that. We sat down, shoulders close but not touching. The night felt warmer suddenly, softer, like something unspoken had begun between us. Something gentle but undeniably present. Jonas kept glancing at me, not in a way that made me uncomfortable, but in a way that showed he was studying me, learning me. There was innocence in his eyes, but also a quiet curiosity he didn't know how to hide. I felt something shift inside him, something small but real, a door opening. And for the first time that day, the restlessness in me eased, replaced by a warm, unspoken pull towards the boy sitting quietly beside me. Felt like the beginning of something I couldn't name yet, but I knew I didn't want the night to end. Jonas and I sat there for a long while, the night stretching out softly around us. Conversation wasn't really the point. It was the quietness between us, the way he allowed me near him without retreating into himself. His shoulders slouched in a way that made him look smaller, almost like he was trying not to take up too much of the world. Eventually, I noticed him glancing toward my hand. A tiny, fleeting look, so quick most people would miss it, but I'd been paying attention to him. And something about that look told me he was feeling something new, something he was trying to understand. You all right? I asked softly. He startled slightly, then nodded. I'm thinking. What about? He hesitated. The warmth. He paused, searching for the right words. I didn't know it feels different when someone sits close. His voice was small, uncertain, like he wasn't sure if saying it was allowed. I tried not to let my heartbeat speed up. It does, I said. Some people feel different than others. Jonas absorbed that as if it were a new fact about the world. The streetlight flickered overhead, buzzing faintly. The sky was darker now, and the cars passing by were less frequent. It was the kind of hour where people either settled into comfort or felt the ache of not having it. I knew which one I was. Jonas, I said quietly. He turned to me with that open, trusting look he had. Yes. Do you ever watch films? His eyebrows pulled together. Sometimes. Cartoons. Superheroes. He said it with a childlike honesty, no shame in it. What about films where people get close? I kept my tone soft, safe, slow. Jonas blinked, confused. Close how? Like, when they care about each other. Like best friends? He asked. More than that, I said gently. Like when two boys feel something and they don't know how to explain it. He stared at me, breathing a little funny, like that sentence had landed somewhere deep inside him. I've never seen that, he whispered. My chest tightened. Not from sadness, but from the realization that Jonas had lived a life without certain kinds of tenderness. Would you like to? I asked. His breath caught slightly, and he nodded, slow, hesitant, but curious. I took my phone out of my pocket. He watched my hands as if the movement itself meant something. I opened a short romantic scene. A soft, gentle moment between two boys sharing closeness. No explicit content, just warmth. The kind that says everything without saying it. Jonas leaned in unintentionally, eyes widening with pure focus. The glow of the phone lit his face, highlighting every innocent reaction he had. They're doing that because they feel close? He asked quietly. Yes, I replied. Sometimes people show emotion like that. He watched the screen with almost childlike attention. His breathing changed again. A tiny quickening, a soft intake. Not fear, not discomfort, just curiosity blooming. He shifted in place, fingers twitching lightly against his jeans, as though he didn't know where to put the sensations he was feeling. I noticed, but I didn't stare. I didn't comment. I let him have the space to process whatever was waking inside him. After a few minutes, he whispered, "Is this normal?" "Very," I said gently. Everyone reacts differently when they see something that speaks to them. He swallowed visibly. "It feels strange." "Strange good?" I asked. He nodded. "Yes, but I don't know why." His innocence would have broken a colder person. It warmed me instead. "You don't have to know why," I said quietly. "Just feel whatever you feel." Jonas shifted again, moving a little closer without realizing it. Our shoulders were almost touching now, almost. That thin space between us felt like a quiet spark. "Do you ever watch this kind of thing alone?" he asked. "Sometimes," I said truthfully. "It helps me understand myself." He considered that. "I want to understand too." Something in those words made my breath catch. I turned the brightness down so the light wouldn't bother him, and he leaned closer. Not touching, but close enough that his warmth brushed against me in the slightest way. His eyes stayed locked to the screen, studying the way the two boys in the film looked at each other, how they leaned in with soft patience, how they shared something silent and deep. Eventually, he whispered, "They look calmer when they're close." "They do," I agreed. "Closeness makes some people feel safe." Jonas's voice shook faintly. "Does it make you feel safe?" "It does," I said without hesitation. He took a tiny breath that felt more like a question than a breath. Then he whispered, "Me too, I think." His fingers brushed mine. Not intentional, not bold, just an innocent graze. But it was enough to make something warm coil deep inside me. Jonas pulled his hand back quickly, embarrassed. "Sorry." "Don't be," I said softly. "It's all right." He swallowed again, eyes dropping shyly. "I didn't know it would feel like that. It's okay to feel something new." He seemed to think about that for a long time. Then he said, Can you show me more?" The way he said it was so innocent it almost hurt. Not lustful, not demanding, just a boy wanting to understand something he'd never been taught. "Of course," I said gently. "I'll show you whatever you're comfortable with." His chest rose and fell in a shaky breath. He looked at the warm glow of my house behind us, then back at the screen, then at me. "Can we watch it somewhere quieter?" he asked. "Inside," I suggested softly. He nodded, cheeks warming with a blush so pure it felt unreal. "Yes, inside." But when we reached my porch, he stopped at the doorway, uncertainty clouding his expression. "I've never been in someone's house like this," he admitted. "It's all right," I said. "You're safe, and you're welcome." He hesitated another second, then stepped inside, slowly, timidly, like he was entering a world he'd never set foot in before. The door clicked shut behind us. He looked around with wide eyes, absorbing the space, the warmth, the quiet. Then he looked back at me. "Can you show me the rest?" he whispered. There was no hidden meaning in his tone, no experience behind the request. Just pure, open trust. I nodded gently and guided him towards the sofa, the soft glow of the TV lighting the room. As he sat beside me, just a little closer than before, I realized something unmistakable. Jonas wasn't just curious. He was awakening, and I was the first person he'd ever allowed into that moment. Jonas sat beside me on the sofa like someone trying to fold himself into the smallest version of his own body. His shoulders were pulled in, his hands tucked close to his thighs, knees angled slightly inward. He wasn't scared, just unsure of the world he'd stepped into. A world that, for him, had always been watched from afar. I could feel the warmth radiating from him, soft and hesitant, like a whisper of heat rather than a flame. The living room lights were dim, the TV casting a bluish glow that moved gently across his face each time the scene changed. He stared at the screen with a level of focus that made my heart tighten. Pure, unfiltered curiosity. I chose a scene that was soft, emotional, full of unspoken understanding between two boys learning how to be close without rushing anything. Nothing bold, nothing unsafe, just two people leaning into the comfort of each other's presence. Jonas watched in silence, his breathing steady but deeper now, like he was trying to match the rhythm of the moment on screen. After a minute, he whispered, "They don't talk much." "They don't need to," I said. "Some feelings don't need words." Jonas swallowed, watching the characters lean closer. "Is that why?" He paused, eyes flicking toward me then away. "I feel warm." The simplicity of the question nearly undid me. "Yes," I said gently. "Warmth happens when someone new makes you feel noticed." His fingers twitched slightly on his lap. I pretended not to see it, giving him the space to decide what to do with his own reactions. "They're so calm," he murmured, "like they're sharing something inside." "That's connection," I said quietly. "It happens when someone feels safe with you." He frowned slightly. "Do you feel safe with me?" The question was unexpected, unfiltered, heartbreakingly sincere. "Yes," I said. "I do." He processed that slowly, his expression smoothing out in a way that made him look even more gentle than before. "And you make me feel quiet," he whispered. "Not the bad kind, the soft kind." The words hit me like a gentle wave. "I'm glad," I said. "You deserve soft quiet." Jonas blinked at the screen again, cheeks subtly flushed by the TV's shifting colors. The two boys on the screen leaned in, foreheads nearly touching. Jonas inhaled sharply but didn't pull away from the moment. "Why do they do that?" he asked, voice trembling with something he didn't understand yet. "It's a way of being close without rushing," I said. "A way of saying, I'm here without speaking." He looked at me for a fraction of a second too long. My chest tightened. "You're good at explaining things," he murmured. "And you're good at learning," I replied. A tiny, shy smile formed on his lips before he hid it by looking back at the screen. After a long pause, he whispered, "Can closeness be shared slowly?" "Yes," I said. "The slow kind is often the best." He nodded like he'd been given an answer to a question he'd carried for years. "But how do you know when to start?" he asked quietly. I thought for a moment before answering. "When both people feel something changing in the air between them." He blinked. "Like now." My breath caught. "Yes," I said. "Like now." Jonas shifted closer, only an inch, maybe two. But the movement was significant, intentional. He didn't hide it. He didn't apologize for it. He simply let himself move toward the warmth he'd been circling since the moment we'd met outside. He was still watching the screen, but his awareness was fixed on me, every tiny movement, every breath. It was as if he was waiting for the world to tell him whether it was okay to feel what he felt. "It's strange," he whispered, "because I've never sat like this with anyone. How does it feel? I asked. He hesitated. Then, with a voice soft enough to break something inside me, he said, like someone finally turned the noise inside my head down. I felt something in my chest loosen, an ache I'd been carrying all evening easing in a way I hadn't expected. You're doing really well, I told him gently. He blinked slowly, processing the reassurance. I want to understand more. You will, I said softly. We're only going at your pace. Jonas nodded, shoulders relaxing a little. I could see him sinking into the moment, into the safety of it, the softness, the warmth. His breathing changed again. Each inhale slower, deeper, as if the air inside my living room was thicker, sweeter. On the screen, the two boys shared a moment of quiet, their hands touching lightly. Not holding, just brushing together, an unspoken question. Jonas's eyes followed the movement intensely. That part, he whispered. What does it mean? It's their way of saying they trust each other, I said gently. A small touch can say a lot. He looked at his own hands. Slowly, almost fearfully. He lifted one a few centimeters off his lap, then lowered it again, unsure. You don't have to do anything, I said softly. He swallowed hard. But I want to try. A little. My heart thudded once, deep and heavy. Then try, I whispered. He lifted his hand again, shaking slightly, and let it settle on the sofa cushion between us. Close, but not touching me. He waited, watching the space between our hands like it held the answer to something he'd been searching for all his life. I didn't move. I let him feel in control. A moment passed, then another. Jonas leaned in by a fraction, his breath brushing my shoulder. I feel it again, he whispered. Feel what? I asked gently. The warm thing. Inside. That's okay, I murmured. It means you're connecting. He closed his eyes briefly, as though memorizing the sensation. When he opened them, he looked at me. Not the screen, not the room, just me. The look was soft, open, vulnerable. Can we stay like this a little longer? He asked. Yes, I said. We can stay as long as you want. Jonas exhaled slowly, as if releasing a lifetime of tension. He didn't ask any more questions. He didn't pull away. He didn't hide the way he leaned a little closer, letting our warmth merge without touching. The air between us felt charged. Not bold, not dangerous, just quietly electric. Two people sitting close on a sofa, learning the language of unspoken connection. A boy discovering what it means to feel something in the quiet. A moment neither of us wanted to disturb. And as the soft glow of the TV washed over us, I realized something with absolute clarity. Jonas wasn't just curious anymore. He was beginning to trust me. And trust is always the first step into something deeper. I don't know what I expected when he murmured, I want to feel whatever you felt earlier. But I hadn't expected certainty. Not from him. Not from someone who used to be so unsure of every step. He sat there on my bed, his shoulders slightly curved, like he was preparing himself for something he couldn't name but still wanted. The film's glow flickered across his face, highlighting the softness in his expression. It was faint, but it was there. A quiet trust that hadn't existed before. I took a slow breath and sat beside him, leaving a small space between us at first. I didn't want him to feel trapped. I wanted him to feel like he was choosing me at his own pace. You're sure? I asked gently. He nodded once, eyes fixed on the screen so he wouldn't have to meet mine. Just don't turn it off. That made me smile. I understood exactly what he meant. The film wasn't the important part. It was the feeling it created, the atmosphere it allowed, the unspoken permission it gave him to be curious without overthinking. I softened my voice. All right, then we go slow. You tell me if anything feels too much. He shifted slightly, then whispered, I trust you. Those words hit deeper than I expected. They settled inside me like warmth spreading outward, slow and steady. Without rushing, I let my hand move towards him. Instead of reaching straight for him, I let my fingers brush the blanket first, letting him see the motion and understand my intention. When my hand finally touched him, just the side of his arm, his breath trembled. Not scared, just overwhelmed. His skin was warm, and he leaned the slightest bit into the contact, almost like his body made the decision before his mind did. "That's all right," I murmured, more to reassure him than anything. I let my hand slide slowly down his arm, stopping when I reached his wrist. My thumb traced a soft arc there, and his fingers curled unconsciously, like he wanted to hold on to something but didn't know how to ask. The movie played in the background, the soft glow dancing along the walls. He watched it, but his attention drifted again and again back to the way my hand moved. You can touch back," I said quietly. He swallowed, glanced at me, then let his fingers hover near my hand before finally placing them over mine. His touch was awkward, hesitant, but earnest, like he was discovering the meaning of closeness one gentle motion at a time. His voice barely rose above a whisper. "This is different from what I imagined." "In a good way?" He nodded, cheeks flushing in the faint light. "In a way that makes me want to learn more." My heart pulled tight in my chest. "We can learn together." He shifted, turning slightly to face me. Put us closer than earlier. Close enough that I could feel the soft warmth of his breath on my cheek. His eyes darted downwards, then up again, as if trying to understand the silent rules of this moment. "Show me," he murmured, "how you knew what to do." So I lifted my free hand and let the back of my fingers brush the edge of his jaw. His lips parted softly, eyes fluttering as though the gesture lit something inside him he didn't have a name for. I moved slowly, giving him time to breathe, time to settle, time to choose again and again. His hand found the hem of my shirt, not pulling, not grabbing, just holding the fabric like a question he wasn't ready to voice. "You can take it off," I said gently. He looked up at me, uncertainty mixing with a new kind of boldness. Then, with careful hands, he lifted the fabric. His fingers brushed my skin, and something in his posture changed. He wasn't just curious now. He was drawn in, mesmerized by the closeness between us. I could feel his breath hitch as he took in the sight of me, not with hunger or urgency, but with a quiet awe that made the moment feel larger, heavier, more meaningful than anything earlier. "Is this okay?" he whispered. "More than okay," I answered. The room felt warmer, filled with a soft hum of tension. Not sharp or dangerous, but comfortable, like a shared secret. When I reached for him again, his body no longer jolted. Instead, he leaned in, allowing me to guide him gently. I brushed my hand down his back, and he inhaled sharply, not in pain but in surprise at how sensitive he was to even the faintest touch. His shirt slipped off his shoulder, revealing the warmth of his skin beneath. I paused to make sure he was all right, and he gave the smallest nod. "Don't stop," he whispered. So I didn't. I let my hand move slowly across him, learning the way he reacted. How he tensed, how he relaxed, how he softened every time my touch grew tender. Every sound he made was soft, instinctive, like he was feeling something entirely new. He closed his eyes, leaning forward just enough for our foreheads to almost touch. His voice trembled as he breathed out the next words. "Do that part, the one they did in the film, the one where they trusted each other." His phrasing was innocent, double meaning, and filled with a fragile honesty that made my chest tighten. "Only if you really want it," I said. "I do." He lifted his legs slightly, inviting the moment with a gentleness that said more than any bold action ever could. He wasn't rushing, he was opening up, learning the language of closeness in real time. I moved carefully, supporting him, making sure every shift was slow enough for him to follow. His breath trembled, his fingers gripping the blankets as he settled into the new position. He gasped softly at first, body adjusting, learning the rhythm of something he had only seen, never felt. I whispered reassurance, easing him through every second, watching his expression change from surprise to acceptance to something deeper. The moment stretched, warm and unhurried, filled with quiet sounds and soft breaths. When everything finally reached its height, he clung to me, not out of fear but connection, and let himself feel it fully. Afterwards, he lay back, chest rising and falling, eyes softer than I had ever seen them. I sat beside him, brushing his hair out of his face. He looked at me with a tired smile. "Next time," he whispered, "I want to try the parts one didn't understand." I laughed quietly, warmth flooding through me. "There's time. As long as it's us, there's time." He nodded, half asleep now. I got him food, something simple, something comforting. He ate slowly, still flushed, and when I handed him a few spare dollars, he pushed them back at me with a shy shake of his head. "I don't want money," he murmured. "I just want this again." And even before he left, I knew he'd be back. He always came back. For the rest of that night, I couldn't stop replaying the moment he whispered, "I just want this again." There was something so sincere about it. No games, no pretense, just honesty from someone who'd only recently learned how to express anything beyond confusion. It left a warm ache in my chest that stayed long after he walked out the door. The next morning, I woke earlier than usual, half expecting the feeling to fade in the daylight. But it didn't. If anything, the quiet house made it stronger. Every room still held the echo of him. The way he'd leaned into me, the way he'd breathed softly afterward, the way his voice had trembled when he asked for more than he understood. I found myself glancing at the window every few minutes, wondering if he'd come back. It felt ridiculous, like I was the one waiting for a message after a first date. I made coffee. I wandered the house. I tried distracting myself. None of it worked. And then, just when I'd convinced myself he wouldn't return so soon, I heard a soft knock at the door. I didn't run, but I walked quickly. When I opened it, he was standing there, hoodie half-zipped, hair slightly messy, holding his phone like it was some kind of permission slip. His eyes were wide, hopeful, and a little shy, as if he'd spent the entire morning debating whether to come back. "Hi," he murmured, almost too quietly. "Hey," I answered, stepping aside so he could enter. He walked in with the same cautious steps as before, but there was something new in his posture. Less uncertainty, more familiarity. He wasn't just exploring now. He was returning to a place he'd chosen. He sat on the edge of my bed without me having to guide him. That alone told me he felt safe here. He glanced at the TV. "Can we watch again?" "Of course," I said, keeping my voice gentle. When the video started, he didn't keep his distance like before. He moved closer until our shoulders brushed. The contact sent a soft pulse of warmth through me, and when he felt it, he didn't pull away. He relaxed into it. He whispered, "I thought about this all night." I swallowed. "Yeah." He nodded, cheeks warming. I didn't know something could feel so good. Not just the moment, the closeness. That word, closeness, hit deeper than anything else. It told me he wasn't here for curiosity anymore. He was here for connection. We watched quietly for a while, the room lit only by the screen. His hand once again found mine, but this time he wasn't hesitant. He laced his fingers with mine, a small gesture that somehow felt more intimate than anything from the night before. After a moment, he said softly, "I want to learn the other parts." I smiled. "There's no rush." He turned his head, eyes meeting mine. "But I want to." I understood that look. It wasn't impatience. It wasn't boldness. It was trust. He shifted closer, letting his knee rest against mine, and the warmth between us grew until it felt like the whole room was filled with it. When I slowly lifted my hand to touch his face, he leaned into it immediately this time, eyes fluttering shut. "You're getting comfortable," I said quietly. "With you," he whispered back. That simple phrase wrapped around my chest like a slow, steady pressure. I brushed my thumb along his cheek, and he let out a soft breath that melted into something almost like a sigh of contentment. When I leaned in, not fully, just close enough for him to feel the intention, he didn't tense. He tilted his head, inviting the moment, letting me guide him. I pressed my forehead gently to his, letting the space between us hum with unspoken meaning. "I like when you do that," he whispered. Then I'll do it again, I murmured. And I did, letting my nose brush lightly against his, letting the warmth of him seep into me. It wasn't rushed or intense. It was soft, tender, filled with the kind of slow-burning closeness he had never known before. He lifted his hand and placed it on my chest, right over my heartbeat. I can feel it, he murmured. That's because of you, I said truthfully. His cheeks flushed, and he laughed softly. A small, sweet sound that filled the room with something almost innocent. As the moment deepened, he shifted onto his back, the movement slow enough for me to understand what he was asking without words. I moved beside him, my hand brushing along his side, tracing the soft lines of warmth beneath his shirt. He closed his eyes, breathing in gently as my touch traveled further. Every movement was deliberate. Every motion was something we shared, not something he watched from a screen. He reacted differently now. Not with the startled jumps from before, but with soft, trusting breaths that told me he knew he could relax. When things grew warmer, when the closeness grew heavier, he whispered, "Do the part you did last time, but the slower version." I nodded, adjusting carefully, making sure every step was clear, gentle, and mutual. His body welcomed the contact this time. Not tensed, not uncertain, just learning the rhythm, adjusting with small breaths and even smaller sounds that told me he was feeling something deep, something grounding. He whispered my name once, barely audible. Hearing it like that almost undone me. And when everything finally reached its quiet peak, he clung to my arm, not with desperation, but with connection, like he didn't want the moment to end. When he relaxed afterwards, his head found my shoulder naturally, as if it belonged there. We stayed like that for a while, breathing together, the room warm and still. Eventually, he spoke softly. "I didn't come back for the video." "I know," I whispered. "I came back for you." I felt my chest tighten again, but in the best possible way. I brushed my hand through his hair, and he closed his eyes with a quiet smile. After he ate the food I gave him, slowly, contentedly, he didn't ask for anything else. No money, no distractions. When he stood to leave, he hesitated at the door. "Can I come again tomorrow?" he asked, voice small, hopeful. I stepped closer to him. "You can come whenever you want." He nodded, cheeks warming, and whispered, "Good, because I'm going too." And just like that, he left. But this time, he didn't walk away quickly. He kept looking back, smiling softly every few steps. And I knew, without a doubt, that this wasn't the end of a moment. It was the beginning of something real.